Aloha, welcome. In this very rare class, so far all I can think of that you'll need is a blanket. Crazy. We'll see what actually happens, but very simple. But at least we'll fold the blanket in a weird way, so that'll make it new and exciting. Today is Muktananda's birthday, which means there's a lot of energy. And the way that we each experience energy is different, and it's different for us as individuals on a given day. So maybe today you felt happy or extra tired, or there was a lot of stuff going on. Regardless of what your experience has been up until this point, during our yoga class, I feel like we have the opportunity to really open up and absorb the energy into our hearts. So that is my goal for our class today. Let's get started. Once I'm zoomed out, I can show you how to fold your blanket. Okay, well, so the blanket needs to be the blanket needs to be long enough that it will go under your sacrum as well as your head. So for a standard yoga blanket, it has to open up all the way. And then from there, you can roll it. For me, this is longer than my torso, and ideally it would be a little thicker. So what I like to do after it's rolled is fold over the top so that I kind of get a bonus pillow area. I find that the bonus pillow area, so you can see where there's like the double thickness, only feels good if it goes down into the space between my shoulder blades. So if your blanket's not long enough and it only folds down under your head, it's going to put your neck at a weird angle, in which case I would say just leave it long. So I'll show you what I mean here. You actually want to sit up on the edge of it so that your spine is roughly in a straight line, and then the head comes down on the bonus pillow. I have to make a little adjustment here because my extra thickness went too far down. I find it most comfortable just between my shoulder blades, but you can make adjustments. Side note, apparently it's best for your body to if you sleep on your back, to put a pillow not just under your head, but under your head and your upper traps. And I've been doing it and it feels really nice, so feel free to play with that now and maybe tonight. Yeah, take your time settling in. And so it's just a thin strip under your spine, kind of like if you were rolling on like a foam roller. So Mom, I can't quite tell. I think you need to stack those two ends of your blanket on top of one another instead of going wide with it. We just want it under the spine. From the sacrum all the way to the head. And then bend the knees, soles of feet to the floor. Let the knees knock in. If it feels comfortable, close your eyes. And if at any time the prop isn't comfortable, you can make adjustments or remove it completely. That looks better, yay. It's worth it when you find the sweet spot. Just start to breathe into the space that's connecting to the blanket. And I really enjoy experiencing the breath like a river going from the top rib all the way down to the low back. and then releasing in the reverse fashion. And even though you're just breathing, perhaps you can feel the beginning of a very gentle massage where the breath meets the bolster. There's that increase in pressure. And give yourself the opportunity to relax and to soften. And then give yourself a big hug where your arms wrap around your chest. Maybe you can even feel your shoulder blades with your fingertips. And notice how that action broadens the space between the shoulder blades, the space of the back of the heart. And if you're not sure, you can undo the arms and then redo them so you can feel that opening. Imagine it almost like a window opening. And you can just breathe right into the heart. And through this same opening, you can let anything go, any burdens, any distractions. Imagine this opening in the back of the heart like a tunnel through which anything that doesn't serve you can flow from the body. And once it leaves the body, it's completely neutral. It's just energy. And then switch the cross of the arms. And I was noticing for myself, I gave myself too tightly of a hug. Oh, nice. Anju stretched her arms out really big between sides. Let's all do that. That looks like, that feels really nice. Maybe we'll actually just stay here. Stretch the arms out. And maybe in this new position, even though the shoulder blades are in a more natural space, maybe you can still feel the space between them, the space of the back of the heart, and the gentle pressure of breath and bolster. And then either leaving your arms here or bringing the fingertips to the pelvis will take some gentle pelvic tilt. So do whatever feels best for the shoulders or what helps you have the best experience of your pelvic tilts. And I know we do this in every single class, but notice how it might be slightly different on the bolster. I'm finding in my own body, because of the slight incline of the extra folded portion, it's a little easier for me to get that contraction through the front of the body. And it's okay if that's not your experience. I invite you to have your own experience of how the prop changes this familiar movement. Two things that I love about this action is the deep core awakening, but also the massage that's happening. And so notice with the blanket at the sacrum, maybe you're getting a little extra attention in a new spot. The next time the pelvis rocks back, so that's when your spine's going to feel the most contact with the blanket, pause there. Try to retract the abdominal wall, which is on the front edge, the belly button side draws naturally towards the spine. And then breathe into that contraction and feel that gentle pressure. And notice if the pressure can make you feel like your rib cage can expand three-dimensionally. So not just in the chest, but especially in the sides and in the back. And then imagine energetically that this action can help you find more space in the heart. And as soon as I cued that, I found that I naturally started breathing with less doership. At first I was like trying to fill my rib cage, and then it was just like, it can be gentle, yet effective. Reach the arms towards the heels and gently start to snow angel the arms just to a T at first. Try to keep the upper shoulders and neck soft. So you might need to bend the elbows a little bit. If you feel any tightening in the neck and shoulders, bring the hands back down. Reach the hands towards the wall ahead of you, drawing the shoulder blades down, and then allow the arms to float out to the side and see if that helps the mid and low traps engage. Next time the arms at a T, bend the elbows a little. Actually, you know what? Let's tuck the elbows into the side body, fingertips up to the sky. Push down into the elbows and then push down into the shoulder blades. Try not to arch the spine, so you're still keeping that nice neutral spine with the backwards pelvic tilt, but as you push down into the shoulder blades, you might feel a new broadness across the chest. Maybe you can even feel your arm bones sliding a little bit wider. If the shoulder blades want to draw together, they can, but you don't have to force it. Tuck the chin a little bit. Breathe into the back space. Start pushing down into the bottom rib. Notice what happens in your core when you do that. And this should flatten your spine and not round it, just in case. And then start pushing into the base of the skull at the same time that you're pushing into the bottom rib. And imagine you're getting an inch taller through the spine when you do that. Let the crown of the head float towards the wall behind you. Weight still stays in the blanket, but it's just like a lengthening. And then as that length from the rib through the rib cage to the crown happens, start to press down into the outer edges of the scapula as if you were trying to gently wrinkle the blanket underneath you. So the scapula pushes down towards the mat, and there might be just like a little bit of squeezing of that blanket. Relax at any time if this feels too intense, but see if you can get a similar feeling as that hug that opened the heart window. See if you can feel the heart window opening here in this subtler way as the fullness of the traps expands. And even though we're working with the physical body, breathe into the energetic heart. Be sweet and gentle and see if you can feel that space soften and expand. And then bring the knees into the chest, wrap the hands around the shins, and squeeze the thighs into the belly. Feel that little bit of pressure. And then just thinking about the body, try to squeeze the body up into the thighs, and you might notice that the head and neck lift a little bit, but in an effortless way, and then release that down. Try to take a few of these modified apanasanas, keeping the head and neck relaxed. And when I say relaxed, it's still lifting, but hopefully there's no strain in the upper traps. And if you do feel any strain, just squeeze the legs into the body and squeeze the body back into the legs and allow the tailbone to curl up and let the work of the pose come with the body down on the ground instead. And then we'll release the legs back down. Reach the arms towards the sky. Wiggle your fingertips a little bit. Make a few gentle circles with the wrists. I like to connect all my fingers and my thumb into like one paw as I circle, and it gets a little more interesting in the tendons of the arms. You can imagine you're like folding some cookie dough, but you don't have a wooden spoon. So you're being very resourceful here. And then go the opposite direction. And then reach the hands towards the sky. Feel your shoulder blades. Start to press the back of the heart down into your cushion. And so that might make you have to engage the core. You might feel your pelvis rock back like we've been practicing. Try to reach the hands up towards the sky so the shoulder blades slide wide on the back away from your blanket. And then release that. And you don't want this to be intense, but trying to get you to engage your serratus anterior muscle in a very gentle way. This is the muscle that wraps the shoulder blades onto the rib cage. And so nothing changes in the spine. It's just this reaching up towards the sky, a broadness through the back of the heart. Bonus if you can use this action to stimulate the deep core. And less is more, but just try to start building awareness. This wrapping sensation of shoulders on rib cage, this broadening sensation through the back of the heart space, maybe an opening through the whole back body integrated into the core. And then relax the arms down. Let's roll to one side of the prop. You can push yourself up so that you can remove the prop off to the side. I guess as long as we're up, we'll just be up. Come to seated on the heels. If that's not comfortable, you can use a block or a cushion. And I just want you to be able to take in the experience of all the work you just did on the bolster, all the work you did in the deep core and with the serratus anterior. And notice how the shoulders feel. Notice how the rib cage feels. Let the breath be smooth and natural, but perhaps you can feel it filling. If it's not comfortable to sit like this, Mom, it might be nice to come to a high kneel so you can feel long through the spine, but do whatever feels comfortable for you. And as you breathe, imagine that the back of the rib cage is massaging the underside of the shoulder blades. So there's just that gentle rise and fall. A lot of us have this kind of collapsed tendency, and I have it. And I notice when I really breathe into the back of the rib cage, I feel this repositioning happening with my arms and with my shoulders. And even though the focus is on the back, a lot of space starts to come into the front as well. And then float the arms down by the sides and let them be heavy, so you're not doing anything with the arms, you're just letting them hang. Start to reach the fingertips out and notice how the shoulder blades glide down and slightly wide in the direction that the fingers are pointed. Now try to breathe into the shoulder blades and the back of the heart. And let the arms float and reach. And try to stay relaxed here. And if you ever don't feel relaxed here, just release the arms back down. And then maybe try again, not going as high. And then let's lower right fingertips, flip the left palm, and start to push down into the left hip to let the whole left side body open. And then float through center, reaching out, trying to stay weightless through the arms, and then go over to the other side. Is that going okay with the high kneel, Mom? Does that feel okay? Okay. And take a few of these on your own, trying to feel the support rising up from the legs, up pelvis, up rib cage, and the arms just follow weightlessly. The next time you're over to the right, gaze down and gaze up and make sure you have free movement in the neck. And then do the same thing on the other side. And this is a great test at any time. If you feel like your arms are working too hard, or I give a cue to stay soft in the neck and shoulders, and you're like, I don't know if I'm soft. Try looking side to side, and if it feels fluid, yay. And if it feels sticky, it means those muscles are probably working harder than they need to. Interlace the hands at the low back, and then let's all float up. Let the knuckles, I'm going to turn just so you can see me, let the knuckles get heavy and allow that action to start to peel the front of the heart open. Take a couple of breaths into the collarbones. And then relax the arms down. Turn to the left side. Come down to a tabletop position. Paw out the hands a little bit because we haven't been on them yet. You can take a couple of little bounces, bending through the arms. Walk the hands around and just start to say hello to your wrists, to your elbows, to your shoulders. And see if you can stay in that space where the neck and shoulders are relaxed. I find that walking my hands closer to my knees helps my upper body be more supple, and my neck and shoulders feel more supported. And once you've found support in the upper body, bring some awareness to the pelvis and spine. Take a couple of pelvic tilts just to feel what's happening there. Try to find your neutral spine. And then shift the weight into the right knee. Press evenly through the hands. And remember when we were on our back and you reached your hands up towards the sky? Isometrically reach your hands down into the earth and see if you can wrap your shoulders wide, getting that serratus anterior to gently activate, not in a forceful way, and then release it. And take a couple of those. And remember, it was just that action of letting the shoulder blades gently glide away from the blanket. Nice. Everyone looks really good here. And the next time serratus activates, pause there and exhale to drag or glide weightlessly the right knee back to a half plank. Keep your neutral pelvis. Hover the left foot, which should feel like it takes some work, like it's almost like the pelvis wants to tilt forward, and to prevent it from tilting forward, you have to be strong. And then curl the right knee in and let the spine curl. And then reach everything back, neutral spine. Take some hovers with that back leg, as many as you want, and then counter with that curl. We'll do one more. And this time, as the right leg curls forward, step the left hand forward. Let the right hand come down, and that's our half crawl. And then we'll prepare for the second side by bringing the right hand forward to meet the left, shifting the weight into the right knee now, and then extending the left leg back, letting serratus wrap, lengthening the crown of the head forward. A lot of times people do weird stuff with their necks in plank and table, so bring a little extra awareness to your neck. Breathe into the back of the heart space. And when you're ready, start to unweight the left leg and take some pulses there without tipping the pelvis. See what engages through the back of the left hip to lift the left leg, but also in the rest of the body to stabilize. And then the next time the leg lifts, curl the left knee in, press into the hands back, low back can get nice and wide here, and then extend the leg back out. And now on your own, play with pulsing and curling at whatever pace you like. Staying wide, staying supported, less is more. The next time the left knee curls in, step the right foot forward and step the left knee down for the second half of the crawl. And then we'll take a few crawls. So now right knee glides forward and left hand reaches forward, and we keep with that opposite pattern. I like to start from the leg moving forward, and then the rest of the body follows. And once you hit a wall or something, you can go backwards. It's good for your brain. And we'll meet on the middle of the mat. You turn towards me and slowly roll up to a high kneel. We are going to be kneeling in parighasana for a while, so if you want to put anything under your knees, go for it. Let's bring our hands to our hips. Make sure your knees are nice and wide so you feel supported here. Take a couple of pelvic tilts and try to visualize where your tailbone is pointed in space. And then find what feels neutral. So tailbone heavy, front of the pelvis light and buoyant. And then keeping that orientation, take some hip circles. And as the hips circle, try to feel what opens on the side of the hip, the front of the hip, maybe even on the inside. And then circle the other way. And then shift the weight into the right knee and step the left foot comfortably out to the side. And we're going to do a couple of these so you get to find the best spot. So as the leg tucks back in, twist the other way and then untwist to step again. And do this a couple of times and let the stepping of the foot become more and more natural till you find a spot where it might not have been where your mind would have put your foot, but it feels really good in your hips. And hopefully by the next one you feel like you can pause. Bring fingertips behind ears, or actually let's interlace, because then your shoulders get to relax a little more. So interlace the hands, basket the base of the skull. Let your arms and shoulders be relaxed here, because we've done a lot of shoulder stuff and I don't want them to get fatigued. Press into the left heel, press into the right knee, and lengthen up through the spine. Nice. Take a couple of breaths into the back of the heart. You might allow the chin to tuck a little bit. Bring awareness to your pelvis. And then slowly, keeping the weight in the left heel, start to bend the left knee. Let the body sway. Straight line from right knee up to crown of head. And then push into the left foot to bounce back up. And take a few of these nice, easy sways, trying to feel how the adductors and the pelvic floor are working together and staying connected, almost to like spring you down and up, as if that mechanism was like a trampoline, and it was like you're jumping down and then it sends you right up. The next time you sway over, bottom hand to thigh, let the top hand float in any angle that feels good on that shoulder. So feel free to experiment a little bit. Sometimes reaching out feels really spacious. Reaching up can feel really long. So just tune into what your body's craving, but also what that joint is liking right now. And we're actually going to stay here for a few breaths, which we don't often do in my classes. So feel free to come out at any time. But see if you can find a lightness and an ease that's sustainable. And start to breathe. Imagine that the blanket is still along the spine and you can breathe into the blanket space. And with each breath, you're getting lighter and longer. Come out a little. If you ever feel like you're sinking down, our goal here is to be floating and lengthening, but strengthening and building endurance. One more breath, softly as possible. Push into the left foot to float through center and then all the way to the other side. I didn't say a block today, so if you need a block here, hopefully you have one nearby. If it's not comfortable to do the side bend like this, you can meet us in the next position. So we'll pause here for a moment and hover the back foot, lift the top arm, and stay long from heel to crown. And then lower that lifted leg and start to rotate over the bent knee. Let the bent knee lift and curl so you're in a plank, and then lower that right knee down, and we'll take a few crawls like we practiced before. And then we'll practice crawling backwards. Until you're in the middle of the mat, and then you can turn towards me while still crawling, but of course. Tops of feet flat to the mat. Send your hips slightly towards the heels, and then rock the pelvis back so that you can roll up to a high kneel with control. And before we do the second side, just reach the arms out gently at the sides. Breathe into the back of the heart, and just feel the expansion of the heart and the ribcage supporting your shoulders. And maybe there's more space and more lightness across the arms, through the head. And then relax the arms down completely. Shift the weight into the left knee. Step the right foot out. Take a little twist to the right, and then as you bring the right knee in, twist away and take a few of these, stepping the foot off to the side, whatever amount feels comfortable to you. The foot might be in line with the left knee, or it might be ahead of it. Nice. And the next time the leg steps out, if it's comfortable, you can stay there. Relax the arms down, let them get heavy. Let the right heel get heavy. Take a moment to be aware of what the pelvis is doing. You can let the tailbone make some circles here, finding your neutral pelvis. Noticing how the two legs can work together to support the pelvis. And then we'll opposite interlace. So that's the one that, you have to think about. And then bring that to the base of the skull and try to stay relaxed here. So there's still this sense of nice. The shoulders are like resting on the ribs. Take a couple of breaths to lengthen, breathing into the back of the heart, feeling the massage between rib cage and the serratus, which is between the rib cage and the shoulder blades. And then we'll start to take our leans. So the right knee bends and leans. And I'm noticing I went a little too far and my left groin isn't liking that. So if you notice that, feel free to adjust your stance to find your perfect lean spot. And find how light you can be. And Anju, see if you can stay in a straight line. So the lean is like subtler. It's almost like the lean only comes from the angle between the right leg or the right femur and the right hip bone changing, and then the rest of the body just follows. Nice. Yeah, as long as that feels good. And then you have that trampoline experience of like the pushing down into the trampoline and then whoop, being weightlessly lifted back up. And the next time you lean, pause there, right hand to thigh, but no weight in that hand. And be curious with the left arm. Where does it want to reach? Where does it want to point? You can explore a little bit. And try to find a light place to sustain. Breathing into the back of the heart, breathing into the joints. And if you notice as we hold this, maybe a certain area gets cranky, it's almost like your body sending you a signal of like you're doing something that's not supporting this area. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually amazing information. So you might feel like, oh, my shoulder needs to change position. Like use that as a clue. Or my hip feels a little tight. Maybe come out a little bit. And then, of course, use the breath to not just massage the body, but also to massage the mind and the heart. And then we'll float the arms to T, extend the right leg off to the side. We are heading towards bringing the left hand down, but if that didn't feel good on the first side, you can play with just reaching and staying more upright, and then when you're ready, taking that full transition. If it does feel good to bring the left hand down, you're welcome to do so, and then hover the right leg, reach right arm wherever feels good. Be aware of your pelvis here. Be aware of your spine. And then eventually lower the back leg and pivot over the front knee, pointing the left knee forward for our half plank. If you're feeling like holding your half plank, you're welcome to keep that shin down, broadening across the back of the heart. You're also welcome to hover it. And then eventually we'll go into our crawls. So hold that as long as you want, and then when you're ready to crawl, the right knee will step forward, left hand. If the crawling's feeling really like second nature and you're wanting more, you can tuck the toes under, elevate the knees, and try crawling in our cheetah movement that demands a lot more support in the serratus anterior and the core. It is fun though, if the body wants it. And then once you make it back to the middle of the mat, flatten the tops of the feet, press the hips to the heels, melt the forehead down. I've been really enjoying stacking my hands and elbows wide for a little extra support on the forehead. Feel free to add a little massage, rocking forehead from side to side. Let the elbows go really wide so the shoulders can relax and soften. And we'll start making our way up to standing, floating to table, tucking toes under, hover the knees. It's easier to walk the hands back to the feet, so you're welcome to come to a forward fold that way. I've been enjoying stepping forward and hollowing out my body as I step forward for a little extra core. So do whichever way to forward fold is the kindest or most interesting to your body, and we'll meet in a forward fold. And then anchor, big toes, bend knees, rock weight into heels, heavy sits bones, drop the sits bones, and then send the pelvis forward and roll up at your pace. When you get to the top, you can take some nice easy shoulder rolls. Less is more, especially when we're doing a lot of shoulder stuff, so keep it really integrated. And then turn to face me and bring the hands to heart center really softly, like you're cupping a firefly. Start to, again, breathe into the rib cage, letting it puff and fill underneath the shoulder blades, letting the whole shoulder girdle relax onto your spacious heart. Bobble your head around a little to make sure the neck and shoulders are soft. And then start to shift the weight into the left foot so you can use the strength of your hip to lift the right leg, bend the left knee, step foot down and shift, and move in this way trying to use hip strength. And that might mean it's not a very wide straddle, and I think that's a really exciting thing because it means you're finding the place where your strength can support your mobility. Can feel fun here to hinge forward at the hips a little bit. And then when you find where your wide Tadasana or your straddle is today, pause there, bring the hands to the hips, press into the feet and lengthen through the spine, just extending through the back body for a moment. And then press the hips forward to come to standing. Interlace the fingers behind the neck like we did before, and start to press into the outside of the right foot to lengthen through the whole right side of the body all the way up into that right tricep. And then do the same thing to the other side. And see if you can move in a way that you literally feel this in the whole side body instead of just tricep or just near the rib cage, but really a little bit everywhere. And the next time you side bend over to the right, bend the right knee very generously and straighten it a couple of times. And try to get springy here. Make sure the knee feels okay with this sideways movement. The next time the knee bends, turn all 10 toes towards the short edge of the mat. And then imagine you're like a teeter-totter. So whatever the left leg does, the head is going to have to follow. So start to lift the left foot a little bit, tipping the head forward, and then put it down. And then do this a few times. And if it feels good, you can keep the back foot up and stay teeter-tottering. That right leg should be nice and strong with a nice bend. Yeah, everyone looks really good. Make sure to keep a deep bend in the right knee and most of the weight in the right heel. And the next time you hinge forward, if you want to pause there, you're welcome to hold this modified virabhadrasana 3 or not. Make sure you're breathing. Try to stay spacious through the back of the heart. Ooh, let's float our arms to a T, and it might feel like, I have so much more space. And then set the back toes down, turn towards me, bend the left knee, and take a nice side bend the other way. Let's keep turning the feet so you end up in virabhadrasana 2 the other way. So left foot towards the short edge, right foot in a little bit, and then we'll add that side bend in for lateral angle. Push into the left foot, float into Vira 2 for just a moment. And then turn all 10 toes towards me. Relax the arms down, interlace them at the low back. Let the chest open for a moment. You don't have to be very forceful here. You can just allow the chest to relax, open. And we'll go the other way. So opposite interlace of the hands. Start to play with your side bends. Now that we've done them, see if you can let both side bodies work together so you feel not just one side lengthening, but the other side sucking up to support the top side. And when I work with both side bodies together, I start to feel like a snake. So you might notice you have a lot more articulation and sensitivity through your snake body. And the next time you're over to the left, bend the left knee and straighten it and take a couple of springs on this side. Weight in the left heel. So there's no pressure in that left knee. The hips go back so it's almost like a chair pose. The next time you spring to the left, turn the feet, straight line through right heel up to the crown of the head. Bend into the left knee, but keeping the weight in the left heel just like you practiced. But now tip the pelvis forward. Any amount that the back leg lifts, the head lowers. And then tap the foot down. Take a few of these taps. The movement can be as big or as small as you want. Notice what's lengthening in that left leg while staying really strong. If you want to hold at any time, you're welcome to, and fan the arms out. I'm really enjoying a T. It feels very spacious, but you can go wherever you want. And then set the back foot down. Turn all 10 toes towards me. Bend the right knee. First, just taking a side bend to the right, and then keep the toes turning into a nice short extended side angle. So not an extended side angle, just a side angle. And then float up to your Vira 2. All 10 toes towards me. Interlace the hands opposite at the low back, letting the chest open. Press evenly into the feet. Let the whole front of the body open. I'm going to turn to the side. So the pelvis stays neutral here. But allow, you can even lift the toes to generate this lift through the front line where you feel the front of the shin engage and then the quads and then rectus abdominis can pull up on the pelvis. And maybe you can even get a little reach back through the crown of the head. And then bend the knees really, really deeply. Let everything melt over the legs. Hands can melt down the thighs. They can stay where they are. If they stay clasped, I would reach them straight up and not let them fall over the head. My arms don't really need more of that, so I'm enjoying just draping them down towards the floor. And then let's lower one knee at a time. And yogi's choice, you may want to come into Bhaktasana. You might be feeling one more session of crawling, or maybe you would like to do a full plank after all the serratus work we've done. Something else I haven't named is just fine. If you're in Bhaktasana, it can be nice to circle the arms around the body, lift the hips, grab one wrist underneath the thighs, and then put the thighs down onto the forearms, letting the shoulders release completely. Breathing into the back of the heart, trying to feel that sense of spaciousness and absorption. And then release the arms, press into the hands to roll up to seated on the heels. Sit the hips off to one side. We're preparing for Shavasana. You can do this however you want. Because we have this nice long roll, one fun thing you can do is a supported padottanasana. If you choose this, I wouldn't hold it for the whole Shavasana, but it can be nice for, a minute or two at the beginning. The most important thing, because we really don't want to stretch in Shavasana, the blanket goes over the feet and under the ankles, and then it actually goes under the outer hips, and this prevents the legs from falling out very wide, so it's very snuggly. And heels are generously away from the groin, so you have a lot of space. It doesn't feel like tight or bound. So you don't really want to feel any sensations of stretching, but rather almost like a cradling. And as long as we're here, let's rock from side to side and feel that sense of suspension in the legs. Maybe you can even let it carry up the spine. And then eventually support your way down to resting. And I do find usually when I come down, I have to readjust the blanket so that I feel supported. So you want to make sure it's really tight on the outside of the ankles and underneath the hips so it prevents your legs from falling open. And hopefully there's almost that like basketing effect that happens. And then take a moment to be aware of your pelvis, be aware of your spine. Give yourself one last hug. We'll do the opposite hug from the beginning, so it's probably left arm on top unless you're left arm dominant. And again, feel that heart window opening, letting everything flow out that you don't need, and then creating the space to absorb all the energy that's available today. And take as many breaths as you want here in this hug. I am starting to crave the arm switch, so feel free to switch it up as well. And something that feels really good to come out of this hug is to let the elbows start to get heavy towards the face, kind of like the action of like pulling a shirt over your head. Let the elbows point up and then slowly let the arms melt overhead. So you're reaching up. The arms can stay up as long as you want. And then eventually let them find a comfortable, restful angle. And I think, yep, everybody's in Supta Baddha Konasana, so try to feel that sense of suspension. The prop is holding you so that there's a lightness. And then bring that lightness into the heart. And we'll rest here for the next 10 minutes. And whatever happens is perfect. But staying conscious does help you better absorb. It's where the real magic happens. So I invite you to let your focus rest at the heart center and try to feel each of your conscious breaths massaging your heart or any other area that your body needs. And this supported position for me is feeling very sustainable, so you're welcome to stay here. But if at any time the legs get tired or you feel a stretch happening, I recommend extending the legs out and using the blanket to support the backs of the knees. give yourself some space to just be. Let the body be soft. And see how fluid your breath can be without increasing its intensity. Oh gosh, Satyam, I need your help. I hit a button and now there's a weird picture. I don't know. And start to breathe into the back of the heart, feeling that space that you've been cultivating. And let that spaciousness radiate through the whole body. Make any gentle movements and take your time with the process of waking up, sitting up. And eventually we'll all meet seated. And that's the conclusion of our asana class. Thank you so much for practicing. You're welcome to stick around for meditation to keep absorbing all of the energy that's available in your big, spacious heart. And if you are doing that, take your time to make yourself comfortable. Notice how the physical body can settle after your asana practice. It's like ready for this seat and this opportunity to dive deeper. And so once you've found that position, let the body relax and let the focus start to drop into the heart space. I'm really enjoying this experience of exhaling and releasing, kind of like the feeling of falling backwards into the ocean where you're safe and supported, but there is like a little bit of a rush, or you can go somewhere. Kind of like a trust fall into your own heart. When I think of Swami Muktananda, I always think of Om Namah Shivaya. And so I invite you to embed this powerful mantra from him into your heart practice. And if the physical body gives you any signals or there's any persistent thoughts, I invite you to use the spaciousness of your heart and the Shakti of the mantra to create a radiance that purifies and dissolves any of those imperfections. I think of Swami Muktananda, the first thing that comes to mind is his regalness that really makes spiritual practice feel magical and extremely special. And so I invite you to feel for the place inside of yourself that is connected to that magical, special energy that's really fun in the world, but it also feels transcendent of this world. And he gave us the tools to experience that and to make that real for ourselves. And the mantra Om Namah Shivaya is one of many of those incredible tools. For the last few minutes, if you'd like to do tension release or gratitude practice, you're more than welcome to. Namaste.